The Arkham series is undeniably the most influential superhero game franchise of all time. It reimagined superhero video games as a whole, and reimagined the beloved character of Batman, as well as many others from classic DC Comics. And today, I'll be giving my thoughts on why it is so good. The Arkham Batman, voiced by the late Kevin Conroy, is undeniably a great Batman. He's comic accurate, for the most part. He's a terrifying foe to face, and he's a man of strong moral code. This is the Batman that I most relate to, and it's not hard to see why. We are Batman in the Arkham games. In the movies, we follow Batman on his journey, but we aren't witnessing his actions in these games. We are doing those actions ourselves. Rocksteady brought Batman to us in a different form, properly, for the first time. They brought us a Batman that we control, that we investigate as, that we are. As well as this, we have multiple games to play through, and we see firsthand Batman's growth and changes over the years. He goes from a young amateur who is still figuring it out, to a restrained professional, to a worn-out but still restrained Batman. It is this type of character development, set over years of events, that solidify a character in fiction. This is ultimately my favorite Batman, and for good reason. He's tough, stoic, and mentally at his peak. But he's also there for others, and a tough father figure for those who work for him. For me, the Arkham Batman is the definitive Batman. Arkham Asylum is the first in the series, and is the first game that I played. I've completed several runs of this game, and it doesn't get boring. The portrayal of Joker, voiced by Mark Hamill, and Batman, voiced by Kevin Conroy, are untouchable. Their performances immerse you in the dialogue as the story progresses. The story is quite straightforward, and the game isn't too long. To be honest, I like that they kept it at the length they did, because anything else would have felt like too much. The atmosphere of the island and the asylum are nailed down to a T. The source material for this game was the comic, Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, and it is pure nightmare fuel. In this game, the Arkham Island feels sinister and cold, and strangely alive, and later in the game, literally alive. The asylum, though, was a stark contrast to the island. A madhouse, filled with insane inmates, corrupt staff, decaying walls, broken windows. Arkham Asylum in its nature is strangely horrifying. It's canonically where Joker tortured Jason Todd for over a year and a half. It's also believed that Jason escaped during the events of Asylum, which makes this game even deeper, as Batman could have rescued him at any moment, but was too wrapped up with Joker's shenanigans. You can even hear Jason screaming in Arkham VR, and goddamn, Troy Baker is really good at imitating torture, which is kind of scary. Every time you enter a section of the asylum, you feel an ominous presence. Like a stark, cold wind blowing on the back of your neck, the unsaturated colors of the interiors bring an abandoned feeling to this place. And don't even get me started on the piano melody that plays as the intercom comes online. It's such a unique melody that still gives me a weird sense of nostalgia whenever I hear it. The villain selection for this game was also top-notch. Joker as the definitive villain, but also villains such as Killer Croc, Zsasz, Harley Quinn, Bane, Scarecrow, and Poison Ivy are also there. All of these villains brought a new twist to this game. Killer Croc served as a thrilling encounter that required stealth and caution. Zsasz brought chaos to the environments around him, and was essentially just a tutorial for a basic attacking move. Scarecrow captured us with his toxin multiple times. Some were tedious, like Poison Ivy's fight, which was 2 phases looped over and over, with extra goons added in. Overall, the bosses were fun, but I think they lacked some technical parts, in my opinion. I've already talked about the atmosphere of Asylum a bit, but I wanted to talk about it a little more because they really nailed Arkham Asylum. I personally believe that Asylum has the best atmosphere out of all the games. And just because of how haunting and incredible Arkham Asylum's atmosphere is, I constantly want to revisit the game for one more playthrough. The old, worn-down cells, the decaying walls in the hallways, the classical look of the asylum, just mwah. If there was one expansion to a possible Arkham game in the future, I'd want it to happen in the asylum. I'd like to point out that there is no definitive Arkham game. Ultimately, these games have their own pros and cons, but I find it silly that I would have to rank these games. These are all amazing games with their own strengths, so I'll refrain from putting one game over the other besides my favorite game that will appear later on in this video. Now, let's move on to Arkham City.
Protocol 10 will commence in...
Arkham City is the most beloved of the series, and while it's not my personal favorite, it's not hard to see why people love this game. They took what worked from Arkham Asylum, implemented new features and gameplay elements that people asked for, and created a new and interesting story to tie it all together. Arkham City is undeniably amazing. The city, the combat, characters, and the story are all crucial parts in this game's success, as with all the other Arkham games. The location of the game, Arkham City, fits right in with the dark, bluish color scheme that is present in the Arkham series. The different areas of the map feel detailed and expansive. Some locations have been altered to fit certain characters' themes, like Joker Funland, for example. Arkham City took Arkham Asylum's free roaming and turned it upside down. Now you can glide, grapple, and fly throughout the entire city. Another aspect of the game that shines is the bosses. Arkham City had fantastic bosses. Mr. Freeze, Ra's al Ghul, Clayface. This game was absolutely stacked. Let's break down these three boss fights to understand why they're so good. Starting off with arguably the best boss in Arkham City and possibly in the entire series, Mr. Freeze. Like Mr. Stark, Victor learns from his mistakes. You have to come up with new ways to take him down one after another. You try to jump on his neck, he'll make sure that never happens again. You try to take him down with glass, he will freeze it so that never happens again. It's a race for you to figure out a new way to sneak up on him each time, and it is thrilling. Next up we have Ra's al Ghul. In this boss you fight Ra's in an illusory world, with him spawning sand-disguised enemies and hiding among them. After you complete this phase, he turns into a massive enemy that is guarded by swordsmen that have gaps that you need to shoot through to hit him. You need to do all of this while dodging his attacks from a distance. After this phase, it repeats until a one-on-one duel with Ra's finishes the fight with Batman coming out victorious. Then we have Clayface, the final boss of the game, and quite a simple one at that. For this fight, you have to throw freeze cluster grenades at him to slow down his movements and cut him down with Talia's sword. After this, you will fall down to a chamber under the theater where you have to fight human-like henchmen that attack you. You have to continue cutting the henchmen down with the sword, and eventually Clayface will appear now and again. During this, you need to throw more cluster grenades, so he will freeze up and you can defeat him. There's more bosses to cover, but these were my favorites, and I don't want to extend this video that much because it's already going to be long. The most crucial part of Arkham City's success was its story. Here's a quick rundown of the story. There's a new project that's undergoing development called Arkham City, a city that will house the inmates of Blackgate and Arkham Asylum. Bruce Wayne comes public and denounces this project, until he is captured by unknown mercenaries. He's brought to Arkham City, and manages to escape the grasp of Hugo Strange and Cobblepot. He then suits up and finds out that the entire city is filled with criminals, inmates, and of course, the villains. First off, he saves Catwoman from Harvey Dent, when he notices that there's a sniper in a church tower nearby that tries to take out Catwoman. He investigates the scene and finds that Harley Quinn has taken over the church. He takes down Harley Quinn and the thugs. After doing so, he continues to investigate the site of the sniper, and finds that it was Joker's doing. He looks for Joker and finds him at the steel mill, which was Roman Sionis' base of operations. He finds Joker and Harley, but Joker is somehow dying. His pulse zeroes out, and Batman pushes Harley out of the way to inspect the now dead Joker. To his surprise, Joker jumps on his back and sprays him with gas. Batman awakens, and Joker tells him that he has infected Batman and random civilians in Gotham with his blood, which is poisoned by the Titan formula, which will inevitably lead to his death. So, Batman is forced to find a cure so he can save the innocent people and himself. During this game, there are references to a Protocol 10 led by Hugo Strange. Over the course of the game, Protocol 10 begins closer and closer to commencing. Batman searches for the cure, eventually leading to facing Mr. Freeze, who's been captured by Penguin. Batman defeats Penguin and rescues Mr. Freeze, who agrees to synthesize a cure for him at the GCPD building. After an encounter with Talia's soldiers, Batman follows them in pursuit of Talia and Raish. He tracks them down to Wonder City, an abandoned area under Arkham City that is the base of operations for none other than Ra's al Ghul. Batman has become increasingly sick because of the Joker blood, which prompts Raish to help him, in exchange for Batman taking his place as the heir. Batman agrees, only to betray him, with the hope of collecting a sample of Raish's blood to aid Victor in developing the cure. This leads to the fight with Ra's al Ghul, in which Batman defeats him. He returns to Mr. Freeze, who manages to complete the cure. Freeze puts one of the vials of the cure in a safe, and holds one in his hand, and tells Batman that he won't give it over until Batman brings Nora, Victor's wife, to him. If he fails to do so, he will destroy the cure and let Batman and all the innocent people die. This leads to the boss with Mr. Freeze, in which he destroys the first cure. During the fight, Harley Quinn steals the other cure out of the safe. Then Batman proceeds to go after Joker. He goes through the steel mill and finds a healthy Joker, although in the mirror reflection, he saw the sick Joker. They fought, leading to Joker calling in thugs and Mr. Hammer to assist him. Batman defeated the thugs and Joker until the mysterious Protocol 10 commenced and mercenary helicopters began shooting missiles at buildings, hitting the steel mill and leaving Batman to die. After robbing Hugo Strange, Catwoman, who planned on leaving Arkham City, makes the decision to go back and help Batman after seeing him unconscious on a live feed camera. After being saved by Catwoman, Batman goes after Hugo Strange to stop Protocol 10 and save whoever is left in Arkham City. As it turns out, Protocol 10 was a project to build Arkham City, get all the inmates and criminals there, and destroy the whole city, killing anyone inside. Then it is revealed that Ra's al Ghul was the one who came up with Protocol 10, and was the one controlling Hugo Strange the whole time. Ra's kills Hugo Strange, but before Hugo was fully gone, he detonates a backup explosive that he had planted in the tower, causing all of them to fall. Batman is the only one to survive, with Ra's seemingly dead. With everything in place for Joker, he had his men conquer what was left of Arkham City, and patrolled the streets as he took control of the prison's monitor and communication systems to challenge Batman to a final showdown at the Monarch Theater. It is revealed that Joker had Clayface doubling for him, and the real Joker was actually sitting in the stands behind him, where he shoots Talia and kills her. This leads to the final boss fight with Clayface, where Batman comes out victorious. Batman holds the last cure in his hand, drinks half of it. Joker simply laughs at him, and Batman tells Joker that if he lived, it would all just continue again and again. He would break out, kill innocent people. All for what? A sadistic joke, a toxic rivalry, a narcissistic need for attention. Joker laughs at Batman again, and stabs him in the arm, causing Batman to drop the cure, which shatters onto the ground, leaving Joker to die. But Joker was the one to have the last laugh. Ultimately, Arkham City's story was amazing. The pacing of the game was just right. The length wasn't too long, and it had great plot points and twists along its way. Arkham City proved that the series could improve drastically after the first installment. There's a stereotype in gaming that sequels are the best games, and you know what? That's completely correct, because Arkham City is a fantastic game. And I'm gonna say it again, it's not hard to see why people love this game so much. This brings me to my favorite Arkham game, and possibly the most controversial of the series, Arkham Knight.
What's wrong? Scared.
Now personally, I love this game. The first thing to point out are the graphics, which is really ironic because Arkham Knight was made in the same engine as Arkham Asylum. It's mind-boggling how Rocksteady were able to push Unreal Engine 3 to this extent. I could sit here for half an hour talking about how good this game actually looks, but they did not miss the mark at all. Every crevice of the city is detailed and feels alive. You can go to any location and it will look as good as every other location. This is art, and it was made in Unreal 3. There's another reason why I love Arkham Knight, the characters. I'm talking about Scarecrow, Joker, Arkham Knight aka Jason Todd, and this version of Batman. I'll start off with Scarecrow because holy shit, this is the best Scarecrow design I have ever seen. Please, DC, find a way to get the Scarecrow into a live-action movie. Scarecrow is not just appealing because of his design. There's also the fact that he is just a phenomenally written character. The depth of his hatred towards Batman, and the development of this character is so gripping. The voice work done by John Noble for Scarecrow is top tier as well. This Scarecrow is relentless, brutal, and most of all, deceiving. Just 5 ounces of his fear toxin deployed in a cafe and a 20-second warning was enough to evacuate 6 million people out of the city. Who does that? Scarecrow is a mastermind, and his portrayal in Arkham Knight landed him as one of the best villains in gaming of all time, in my opinion, but I'm right. Then we have Joker, and he isn't in his regular form. This Joker is haunting Batman because of the small amount of Joker's blood that's left in Batman. He is introduced in a really unsettling way. We first see him get cremated, and then he is reintroduced as a hallucination in his chemicals. At first, I expected not to like Joker at all, but his stupid jokes made playing Arkham Knight an almost dividing experience. Joker is constantly tempting Batman to give up, to stop pulling his punches, to kill, and in reality, Batman can't do anything except ignore him. Batman is stuck with Joker, as long as he still has that slight bit of Joker blood and the fear toxin in his system. This game was the one to break my perception of Joker. I feel like we sometimes forget about how truly demented he is. And the thing that made me see him in that horrible light were the Jason Todd flashbacks. Rocksteady really took the M rating given to the game and ran with it. Joker's design is very methodical. In the beginning he appears sick, and as the end approaches and as Joker gains more influence over Batman, he looks healthier. It's an easy detail to spot, but still a nice one. The final showdown with Joker is one of my favorite moments of the entire series. The horror style that they used for this was a unique choice, but ultimately it paid off. It's incredible how they used the perspective of Joker, a criminal, as the protagonist, to allow us to see how scary Batman truly is. He isn't just hiding in the shadows, he is the shadows. Moving on to the Arkham Knight, or better known as Jason Todd. Now this character is very complicated because he was a brand new character made specifically for the series, and on top of that, it used the origin of a classic character. This sets the Arkham Knight in a weird gray area, but I really like this character. I felt like he was a breath of fresh air in the series, a familiar character that turned to hate us, and ultimately redeemed himself at the end. Obviously, there were some issues with this character that were very blatant, but I personally believe the good outweighs the bad. And I know that this character might seem like a reach, but come on! He was tortured for over a year in a place that nobody knew about except a select few people. He was beaten, tortured, left for hours on at a time with barbed wire on him, and was quite possibly, toyed with, but in a more vile way. You get what I mean. He was manipulated into believing that his father figure had abandoned him and replaced him. Jason is beyond broken. He is lost. Moving on to the last thing I wanted to talk about Batman Arkham Knight, the combat. The combat in Arkham Knight is stellar, the flow is smooth, and I know you're gonna get mad at this one. The tank gameplay is good, I'm serious. The tank gameplay was fun, it was overused, but still enjoyable for the most part. The combos, the team combat, the stealth, all were made extremely well. The game introduces new moves and gadgets, such as the fear takedown, allowing players to strike fear into their enemies before they even knew what hit them. Even NPCs comment on how fast the fear takedown is. From the rain-soaked streets to the dimly lit alleyways, every corner of Gotham City feels alive and atmospheric. The visual fidelity truly brings Batman's world to life, and in my humble opinion, Batman Arkham Knight is the best game in the series. Now I can't end this video without talking about the ending of the series. The Arkham series ends with the Nightfall Protocol. To give a short overview, the Nightfall Protocol is introduced as a last resort plan that Batman has prepared in case all else fails and Gotham City becomes irredeemable. The details of the plan are gradually unveiled as Batman reaches critical points in this game's storyline. Ultimately, the Nightfall Protocol involves Batman sacrificing himself to ensure the safety of Gotham City. In the game's climactic ending, Batman activates the protocol, triggering a massive explosion in Wayne Manor, seemingly killing him and destroying his secret identity. However, it is later revealed that Batman survived the explosion and faked his death, allowing him to continue protecting Gotham from the shadows. This twist sets the stage for potential future adventures and showcases Batman's unwavering dedication to his city. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. This was my first video essay type video in a while, so it was tough to get back into the groove of things. I'll be getting back into making these videos, so if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to be the first to get notified of my videos. Take care.